Hello, Karen, and welcome to the Branson Centre studio. It's so lovely to have you in the room.
Thank you very much for having me in your room.
So, of course, we have been in a long conversation as the Branson Centre about, one, changing business for good. And in that conversation, we've arrived at this idea of how can we change the ocean economy for good. And so that's why we're in the room together today. But before we get there, can you tell us a little bit more about who you are, the work that you do, and perhaps if you have a relationship with the ocean, what is it?
My name is Karen Bosman. I work at Wesgro, which is the tourism, trade and investment promotion agency for the Western Cape and for the City of Cape Town. So we're funded by Western Cape Government and by City of Cape Town. And our job is to drive investment into the Western Cape economy, to help exports from the Western Cape into the rest of the world, and to promote the destination in terms of tourism. And then we do some other projects which enable this, for instance, the Cape Town Air Access Project, which brings direct flights to Cape Town. We have a program, newly formed Oceans Economy, supporting program looking at bringing cruise ships to Cape Town. And who am I? I'm not only Wesgro, but I am largely Wesgro. I am proudly from the Cape. I grew up near the ocean. I do definitely have a very close link with it, if we can put it that way.
Absolutely. And so through your work and through what you've just described around the promotion of trade, investment, tourism for this particular region, which is very much, the ocean plays quite an important part of the Western Cape's identity, and even, I guess, has massive influence around that in terms of the Western Cape's place in the South African economy. What's your understanding of what the ocean economy is?
So it's quite broad, and I think that's one of the reasons maybe that it doesn't take front and center in terms of how we speak every day, but it touches on absolutely every aspect. So we do export promotion, for instance. The Western Cape South Africa is the second largest producer and exporter of catamarans, luxury catamarans in the world.
Stop it.
Yes.
Who's the first?
France.
Okay, fair enough. That's a pretty decent company, seeing that we also compete on the wine front. But okay, second largest exporter of catamarans. Yeah.
And 70% of that, more or less, is built in the Western Cape. And so boat building, for instance, is a big, it's a labor-intensive industry, and it has a lot of opportunities down the value chain, from design through to carpentry, through to mechanics, everything. So it's a very good industry in terms of job creation. So the boat building, and then at the same time you've got marine manufacturing, which also includes servicing of international ships that come past, and technically speaking, that would be a service export. So that's an industry that really I think we excel at, and we don't really speak about that much. In terms of shipping itself, we are an exporting nation. Western Cape exports about half of South Africa's agricultural products, and a lot of that is going to Europe, increasingly also to the United States. And so we're a long-haul destination. We are reliant on ships. And there's, obviously shipping needs to become more sustainable. There's a lot of work being done in terms of looking at bringing green hydrogen, so a lot of investment opportunities around green hydrogen at the moment in South Africa, and a lot of interest from Europe, and that would potentially also be an opportunity in terms of green shipping fuels, green ammonia. And so there's work being done. We, on the investment promotion side, trying to understand how to leverage those opportunities, what do we need to do in order to attract investment into green hydrogen production, and then how can we leverage that for, to become a green shipping corridor in essence, because the consumer in Europe is going to be increasingly worried about the carbon footprint and the sustainability of their product. And so the quicker we can green our shipping lines.
Yeah. Would we be greening it or bluing it?
Well, if you're speaking about hydrogen, in fact, blue hydrogen is not the good one.
Yes,
Green hydrogen
actually,
is the good one.
I've been learning about these
the
things.
The
colours are all
are
melting into each other.
very, very important, depending on the sector you're speaking about.
Absolutely. I think what I'm enjoying in this conversation and in terms of what you're bringing into it is starting to understand the ocean as, yes, it is this thing that produces food, marine life, all that stuff. But at the same time, the ocean is this superhighway, effectively. So it is building and allowing for corridors of trade, exchange, people movement and that kind of thing. So once we start talking about shipping, boat building, you're actually talking about the movement of things and people and ideas. And so for me, it starts feeling quite juicy about the ocean being actually a driver of things.
Yes.
So my question is, in the time that you've been working, within Wesgro and your observations, and of course, as you said, Wesgro is also just starting to articulate its understanding of the ocean economy and what role it plays in the Western Cape's existence. Your observations, though, what have you seen as a change that's occurring around the ocean economy? Is there some sort of timeline that you can almost paint for us?
I think in general, especially in the sort of, let's say it's quite an innovative ecosystem in the Western Cape, and there's certainly a lot more awareness in terms of the type of work you guys are looking at is innovation in terms of sustainability of oceans. So I think there's a lot of talk and a lot increasingly interest from industries and let's call it sort of new entrepreneurs in terms of looking at how the sustainability of the ocean. I think there's a lot of research being done, and I hope those two can merge at some point. On the other hand, there is, we deal a lot with the Port of Cape Town, and that getting onto that highway needs to be efficient. So in the last few years, there's been a lot of work around trying to, just ensure efficiency at the port. Exports are, increasing, and so and imports are increasing, and so you need efficiency in terms of your access to the ocean for that highway. So port efficiency is incredibly important for not just the ocean economy, but for the whole economy, because we import and we export everything through the port. So quite a nice development that's happened recently is this city, the Cape Town Cruise Cape Town program that is working together to bring more cruise ships to Cape Town. That's a partnership between Wesgro, the Waterfront, the City of Cape Town, Western Cape Government, SAMHSA, and Transnet, and I hope I mentioned them all, to really actively drive cruise ships. And it is obviously, unfortunately took a knock with COVID, but recovery is looking incredibly good, and the first ships are arriving soon again for the season. That's always
so exciting.
So it's a very exciting one, and that really, again, you've got your Makers Landing, you've got just the whole economy that can
absolutely
feed off that again, and the excursions that they can do on a daily basis, and so that's sort of an exciting new event that's been taking place, and then with the boat building. We've seen, so most of our ships are exported to the US,
right.
and COVID actually, caused a bit of a uptick in the luxury.
Oh, of course, because people had extra money
yacht,
and started thinking about,
and younger people sort of started deciding to rather go live on a yacht than do the daily. So we've partnered with Sabex, the boat builders exporters forum. And USAID's Prosper Africa, and they've run a survey, they're running a market study in the US to understand the perception of South African catamarans. Right. And it was very interesting. The insights have just come out, and there's, although they buy a lot, there isn't necessarily a strong perception, a strong link with our brands, and so. That's nice because now we know we need to go and market ourselves better there.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of opportunity in that. And yeah, I think the shipping, the green shipping is going to become increasingly interesting. The world is really very interested in South Africa in terms of, and Southern Africa, including Namibia, in terms of green hydrogen production, which could change the landscape on the shipping front quite a lot.
This is so exciting.
And then sorry, let's just, the final one is also obviously just the fishing side of things. So fish itself is actually one of our top 20 exports, and that in itself, drives a whole economy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what is exciting for me is all the things that you're describing have this incredible sort of ecosystem effect, and I guess a compound effect. So what starts off as one, let's say, transaction within the ocean economy becomes this concentric circle of other add-on services and industries that then play a role in making sure that that transaction is viable and is realized. So in terms of the impact on job creation, I think that's the bit that really sort of gets me very excited. I would want to, though, focus on the other piece because, of course, at the Branson Centre, we really are about businesses that are good for people and for planet. And you have mentioned that, there might be, on some level, a push from customers and consumers who are outside of South Africa who are going to put the pressure on understanding and making sure that what we are doing is good for the ocean. What is happening in the South African side of things? Are we starting to be a part of that conversation from ourselves, not because we're being pushed, but are we also starting to take some leadership when it comes to sustainable ocean economy activities?
Yes, we are. And the reason is, one, sure, from within we are, but we are interlinked with the global economy. And you are, so when your big markets like the EU and maybe to a lesser extent right now the US, but when your big markets sort of almost draw a line in the sand in terms of sustainability, from a consumer point of view, let's first talk about the consumer. So the consumers, on the one hand, are driving companies to look at the entire value chain. Consumers are becoming a lot more picky about, everything all the way back and the life cycle of the product itself. And then at the same time, you've got regulations that are coming in, countries that are signing up to the Paris Agreement that are having to put in place steps in order to now, reach their targets that they've put in. And while it doesn't necessarily speak directly to ocean economy, it speaks to decarbonization on the one hand, it speaks to biodiversity on the other hand, and a lot of, again, I keep coming back to shipping, but it's a big contributor to carbon emissions around the world. And so because we export to our big markets, because we are part of value chains that go to large markets, we are absolutely interlinked, and because we are trying to drive investment into the region, and those companies are probably exporting to Europe or are interlinked with the global economy. It's all interlinked. You can't not be involved, and it's becoming a competitive advantage as a business to have sustainability credibility.
Absolutely.
And
I think that's a very important point, Karen, in terms of, as an entrepreneur looking or already involved in the ocean economy, looking to become an innovator in the ocean economy, where we're not necessarily looking at sustainability as a punitive measure. We're not punishing you or crippling, your growth, but rather it's saying sustainability is a competitive advantage. And so if you can get in front of that, there's a greater chance of your business being able to take off and succeed, and then realize the impact that you're trying to drive, create the jobs that will come through your business, and of course make sure that you make money as you go through your business, and then can really drive innovation.
Exactly. And that, I think, has probably changed, really hit home only in the last few years, and even just coming out of COVID, where suddenly it's going from, we also do this, to this is who we are, and we need to innovate, and we need to be properly sustainable to be competitive. And that's where I see a lot of innovation opportunities lying for people with innovative technologies, with ideas, because every single business practice needs to change, whether it is relating to the ocean or whether it's relating to other sustainability issues, and that takes innovation. And so you need to change everything. And there's a lot of scope from fuels to navigation to that refers to there's a lot of tech that's coming into a lot of the oceans industries as well. So on the one hand there's a sustainability drive, and on the other hand there's also the sort of technological transformation that's happening, and it also drives sustainability on the one hand potentially, but also innovation opportunities across so many different
sectors,
sectors.
This is making me so happy, and I think for entrepreneurs it could start sparking some ideas and some thoughts in terms of what is interesting about the ocean economy for me, and I hope entrepreneurs are starting to pick that up, is that actually the ocean economy can be one of the most inclusive sectors of the economy, because on one hand the ocean belongs to no one and the ocean belongs to everyone. And it's also such an interesting sector that takes you into a global conversation straight away, so that's the part that really for me feels quite interesting as we also go along our journey of trying to understand what the ocean economy looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there are, as you say, the inclusivity of it is, I'm just thinking about, for instance, apps that link a consumer to sustainably caught fish. It's very simple, but you couldn't do it before.
And it's scalable.
And so your small-scale fisher maybe couldn't reach markets that they can reach now. And there is more money interested in going towards sustainability of the ocean, which I don't think necessarily was always there. So that's where the opportunity again works towards actually achieving our goal. So we don't really want an economy that's working, within. You don't need to have a dichotomy between the economy and the sustainability of the ocean. You actually want them to be working together.
Yay! One last question.
Yes.
What is the thing that has delighted you the most as you are starting to discover a lot more about the ocean economy?
I think I've kind of had rethought I always took the ocean for granted, and then when I was thinking about this, I was thinking about where did my love for the ocean really start? And I think when I can remember the moment my appreciation for the ocean started was when I was about 18. And I grew up near the coast, so the coast was always within, you could always see it.
Yes.
The view always ended in the ocean. And then one day I was standing on a hill in Pretoria, and I looked around me and there was just land and land and land and land and land. I zoomed out and I just realized how much land there is before I hit ocean. And I had a proper panic attack.
Right.
And I went straight back to the coast. And I've often thought about the fact that, even if I grew up swimming and enjoying the beach as much as everyone, but just the proximity to the ocean for me is freedom. Especially in Cape Town, you really are at the end of the earth, essentially, and I love that sense of freedom, and then also just the freshness. Again, our ocean is cold, not everyone's is cold, but the freshness that it brings, the cleanness of the air, and then the fact that you never ever go for a swim and come out feeling worse off. You always feel better. So for me, it's just it's fresh and free and rejuvenating, and I have recently just become a lot more interested in this, also just this other world, it's right there, but it's complete other world that's in there, and the importance that it plays in the world, in terms of oxygen production and biodiversity and all of that, but at the same time, again, because I work so closely with every sort of inch of the economy, the massive, massive, massive role that it plays in our economy, and how we can better get more people involved. There's some great initiatives in the Western Cape in terms of getting the youth involved. And then all the way through to big industry. Everyone relies on the ocean, and we need to make the most of it.
Absolutely, and look after it and enjoy it.
Yes.
Thank you for your time, Karen.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Your rap name is Karen B.
Cool. I can deal with that.
Can I do my clapper?
To that camp.
Yay! Oh no, Karen, do you want to do it? It's your episode. Look at me being generous and handing over my clapper.
Do I clap? Okay.
No, you must do it to the camera.
But there's more than one camera.
That one.
Okay.